There is a major development tonight in Canada-U.S. trade talks. Late this evening, the federal government suddenly announcing it is now rescinding its tax targeting big tech companies. The Prime Minister saying talks can now resume.
Wow, that is big news, guys. This is UnPontificated. My name is Voyo, and I thought talks were resuming. Talks were ongoing, even with Donald Trump's post on Truth Social saying that he is doing away with talks. But I guess, it's not true. Donald Trump has won again. The digital service tax is dropped, and talks will now resume. Let's continue hearing a little bit more on this breaking news.
Just 2 days after Trump abruptly posted online that trade talks were off unless Canada dropped the digital services tax. It was just hours away from taking effect tonight when Ottawa made the announcement. Sam Sampson is in Washington. And Sam, take us through this late news from the federal government.
So this statement, it says the finance minister announced he is rescinding the tax in anticipation of a mutually beneficial, comprehensive trade agreement with the United States. The statement goes on to say, Ian, that both Prime Minister Mark Carney and U.S. President Donald Trump have agreed that parties will resume negotiations with a view towards agreeing on a deal by July 21st this year. So it's plausible to suggest there were ongoing conversations about this through the weekend, right up to the last hour, because the tax was supposed to come into effect tomorrow. But now Canada will not collect this levy, and the finance minister will bring forward legislation to rescind the digital services tax. Carney also said earlier this month, remember, that he and Trump would work to make a trade agreement happen within 30 days. Well, in this statement, the Prime Minister says this announcement supports a resumption of negotiations. And this tax has been in talks for years, going back to the Trudeau government. Sunday's statement uses the phrase Canada's new government a few times, something the Prime Minister has been doing a lot lately, and perhaps signaling that the decisions of the past Liberal government are ones Mark Carney is willing to revisit to make a trade deal with Trump.
Well, there you have it. And so by July 21, hopefully there'll be a deal in place. Look, the Americans are our biggest trading partner. And so I see, if this is what it takes to get a deal going, to get the tariffs dropped totally, it'll be interesting to see what the deal is when we finally get going. But okay, Trump, the big dog has won again. I hope the deal that comes down is a good one for Canada. I guess we'll see. But really, that was not what I wanted to talk about today. Today, I wanted to talk about HikVision. I'm sure you've heard that HikVision has been told to close up shop. This is a Chinese company. They make surveillance cameras, and they've been told to pack up shop, head back to China, close up shop in Canada, because I guess CSIS has determined that Canada's security is in jeopardy, or is in jeopardy. We'll go with that. So I found this very interesting because China is not averse to retaliation. But let's hear a little bit more about the story first and go from there.
A Chinese maker of surveillance camera systems has been ordered by Ottawa to close up its Canadian shop and leave the country. The government order comes after a review of HikVision by Canada's security and intelligence community. A statement from Industry Minister Mélanie Joly says allowing the company to keep operating in Canada would be harmful for national security.
Here's the statement on X from Mélanie Joly. It says, following a national security review under the Investment Canada Act, the Government of Canada has ordered HikVision Canada to cease all operations in Canada and close its Canadian business. The government has determined that HikVision Canada continued operations in Canada would be injurious to Canada's national security. This determination is the result of a multi-step review that assessed information and evidence provided by Canada's security and intelligence community. The scope of this national security review under the Investment Canada Act does not extend to HikVision's affiliate operations outside of Canada. However, I strongly encourage all Canadians to take note of this decision and make their own decisions accordingly. In addition to this action, the Government of Canada is prohibiting the purchase or use of HikVision products in government departments, agencies, and Crown corporations. The Government of Canada is further conducting a review of existing properties to ensure the legacy HikVision products are not used going forward. The Government of Canada welcomes foreign investment, but will never compromise on Canada's national security.
It's unclear what sparked the security review. A statement from HikVision says the decision appears to be driven by, quote, an unjustified bias against Chinese companies.
So I find this news interesting on a number of fronts. One, interesting to see how China is going to retaliate. As I said before, China is not averse to retaliation. We saw that with the two Michaels. Yeah, the two Canadians, Michael Spavor and Michael Kovrig, who were held in China for nearly 3 years because of a feud. As you can see here, it says Spavor and Michael Kovrig, who became known as the two Michaels, were detained in Beijing in December 18 in apparent retaliation for the arrest in Vancouver of the senior Huawei executive Meng Wanzhou on a US warrant. All three were later released. The other thing we see on retaliations, you'll see here, on March 8, 25, China's commerce industry announced it will apply a 100% tariff on Canadian canola oil cakes, and pea imports, and a 25% duty on Canadian aquatic products and pork. The tariffs, which will go into effect on March 2025, are being imposed in retaliation for Canadian tariffs on Chinese electric vehicles and steel and aluminum products introduced in October 2024. Retaliation. So now we have HikVision being told to take a hike. Right? So it'll be interesting to see what kind of retaliation becomes from this. The other interesting point of this is Mark Carney's Brookfield. Brookfield has some interest in China, right? And you can't see Mark Carney doing anything to harm Brookfield's interests in China, right? Mark Carney is a fellow who I've said before in a previous episode that he's somehow this guy, I don't trust him. He's very smooth. He's certainly more impactful than Justin Trudeau was. It's quite a contrast from Mark Carney to Justin Trudeau, I think, in how Canadian leadership is viewed. This guy certainly seemed to be more mature, more capable than Justin Trudeau, and I see that even in when he speaks and when he relates with other world leaders as well. They do seem to respect him and seem to hold him in high regard. But I wonder if he would do, if he was given a choice between harming Brookfield and harming Canada, he would choose to harm Canada over Brookfield. Right? I think he holds Brookfield more in not wanting to do anything to impact it than he would Canada. That's just the way I see the guy. I could be wrong, and I hope I'm wrong, but I don't think I am. And and so you can see here on this National Post, in his capacity with Brookfield, Carney paid several visits to China, where he routinely praised Xi Jinping's leadership and urged the advancement of Chinese renminbi as a global reserve currency to challenge the US dollar. See that? He urged the advancements of the Chinese renminbi. Wow. While he was governor of the Bank of England, Carney oversaw the creation of a $1 billion investment fund to support Beijing's Global Encircling Belt and Road Initiative and participated in the conclusion of a deal allowing Chinese banks access to the United Kingdom currency market. Last March, Carney was back in China praising China's leaders in the deployment and application of artificial intelligence technologies. Beijing's AI has proved handy in recognizing the facial features of Xi the Xinjiang persecuted Uyghur minority. You can see that Carney and Brookfield have interest in China. And Canada has been talking with China. Let's see here. This was a post from June 6, 25. Right. In a notable move amid recent diplomatic and trade tensions, Prime Minister Mark Carney has agreed to regularize channels of communication between Canada and China after having a conversation with a top Chinese official. Prime Minister Carney took the opportunity to raise trade irritants affecting agriculture and agri-food products, including canola and seafood, as well as other issues with Premier Lee. So I have no problem with trying to improve our trade, with Canada's trade relations with China. I think China is our second largest trading partner after the US. So these tariffs that China retaliated with is harming our seafood industry and some of our industries out in the West, canola oil and that stuff. And so that's not good for our farmers and for our exporters. But what is China now going to do with this HikVision that the government has decided to do? I think if it is true, because HikVision makes surveillance cameras, so I find this interesting. And China has been accused every election of having an impact, of trying to impact our elections. But the issue is whenever I see something like this, and again, I told you, I hope I'm wrong, that this is Carney doing things that may harm Canada, but will not harm Brookfield. Right? Does he put that into consideration when he makes decisions? If HikVision and is a company that is surveilling Canada, and CSIS has done its job. CSIS is an institution that collects intelligence, and if this intelligence has determined that Canada is going to be injured by having HikVision here, then yes, please close up shop. So to summarize, HikVision, CSIS has done some intelligence work, determined that HikVision should not have up shop here in Canada. They may be spying. I mean, they make spyware cameras. So good. That is good. If that's determined by CSIS, then get them out. Just a little bit about CSIS. CSIS is not entirely independent. It operates with a degree of operational independence within the framework of government oversight. CSIS is accountable to the Minister of Public Safety, who is responsible for the agency's overall direction and performance. However, CSIS also has its own independent authority to decide which activities it will review, including ongoing operations. So the Minister of Public Safety is ultimately responsible for CSIS and its general direction, which means that the Minister can provide direction on broad policy matters and ensure CSIS operates within the law. And the Minister of Public Safety right now is the Honorable Gary Ananda Sangari. All right. So surprised he didn't make a statement. Instead, it was Melanie Joly, who is the Minister of Industry and Minister responsible for Canada Economic Development for Quebec regions. That's Melanie Joly. So why did she make the statement on X and not Ananda Sangari? So CSIS does have some oversight, which is good. So industry should have oversight. But anyway, so I guess there must a chain of events, but CSIS make the collect the intelligence, send it to Ananda Sangari, and he determines that, hey, he probably spoke with Carney. He said, we need to get these guys out. probably at the recommendation of CSIS. They agreed to it. HikVision is gone or will be gone. And we're going to see how China will or may retaliate. They have a history of retaliating against things that they do. Guys, by the way, please like and subscribe if you like this episode and like this content. So we saw that with the two Michaels, Spauber and Kovrig. We saw that with the tariffs on our canola oil and other things. And now are we going to see that again with HikVision? It's very interesting. My shackles go up because Mark Carney does have interests in China. We also saw that Canada has dropped the digital service tax so that talks may resume, and we may have a deal again with the US. Talks have resumed with the US, and a deal may be coming July 21st. July 21st. And we'll see how that goes. So our trading partners, US and China, need to get good deals going there. Carney is working. He's working. I'm going to give him a little bit of credit that these things are working. And if he's the guy who was touted to be the guy who can talk to Trump the best, so far he seems to be giving in quite a bit. And I mean, U.S. is an economic giant, and right now we need U.S. So I like the fact that we've dropped the trade barriers within Canada, the federal trade barriers. Let's keep that going. Let's keep that going. Anyway, guys, what do you think? HikVision is leaving Canada, which is good. The digital service tax has been dropped by Canada and digital services, U.S. digital services in Canada. Do you like that? You think that's good? Make a comment down in the commentary. Like and subscribe. And happy Canada Day for this great nation. Oh. We'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.